The Easter story begins on Palm Sunday. Jesus entered Jerusalem on a donkey.
Well, today I'm chatting with Joshua Whitehouse, who created the epic Easter story animation that's out there on YouTube. Go and have a look. If you've not seen it already, here is just some clips from it. Here's some of my favorite scenes. It really is a stunning masterpiece. And Joshua is the guy that did the set design, created all of the different sets with his own Lego, all 60,000 bricks of his Lego, and also did the painstaking work of bringing it to life through stop motion animation. So we've got a bit of time asking Joshua some of the questions, and we're also going to see some behind the scenes photos where he'll reveal some of the techniques he's used to make this video come alive. Joshua, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. It's nice to be here and nice to give you a bit of a behind the scenes as to how something like this comes together, because although it's only 4 minutes of animation, it's actually a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, isn't it? Just in terms of hours, how many hours did you work on to make this?
So we did it over 8 weeks, which is a very short time. And in those 8 weeks, I worked about 5 hours a day, I think, every day, which equates to about 250 hours roughly.
Wow.
And then Dan, you said about 50 hours editing.
That's right. Yes.
Which is also a crazy amount.
So do you know how many individual photos you took?
So individual photos, I counted them, well, not individually, I just looked at the files. It's over 3,700 photos for 4 minutes of animation.
Wow.
Which is, huge.
That is great. And in terms of people who are watching this and they don't know the difference between maybe computer animation and stop motion animation, just explain simply, what is it that you've done and how did you get the effect that we're seeing on the screen now?
So basically in stop motion, what you do, you build, it's all in real life. So none of it, apart from the After Effects and editing, it's all done in real life on set with a camera. And what you do is you build your set and you have the minifigures and everything that you want in the set. And then you take a photo and then move what needs moving in the set. So if it's like a stream, you'd move bits along the stream, or if it's a minifigure, you'd move its legs and arms and whatever. And then you take another photo and then you move it again, tiny amounts, and take another, and so on until you've got like I'd say 50 to 100 photos for a clip for about a couple of seconds. And then you put that together in a video and it looks like they're moving.
Amazing. Well, let's not keep people waiting. Let's show them some behind the scenes photos, which are really revealing as you see, that's how you did it. So I'm going to share my screen. So this is the first one. This is the Palm Sunday scene, isn't it?
Yes.
Talk us through what's going on here.
So when I built this scene, basically I started with one of the houses, and I've been building Lego for 12 years now, so I've had a lot of practice, I guess. And so I started with the houses, and then built basically just expanded it until it was big enough for my liking. And from this picture, you can sort of see that basically what isn't shown in the camera isn't there. Basically, you can see the edges.
It's like a real movie. It's like a real movie set where you sort of see a movie set and then it just ends. And I ran out of tan bricks in this scene, so I didn't even have enough bricks to make it any bigger. But because the camera isn't seeing that, there's no point in building that. And a lot of my models previously are like that for competitions and stuff. There's no back to them basically. But this one I did have to change it up a bit, because a lot of my previous models are also not very stable, which for a stop motion isn't great, because if the set's moving in every frame, then looks like there's an earthquake the whole time, which isn't great. No. We're talking about that. How do you move the individual characters?
So I sit
Yeah, that makes sense. So when I got Joshua's epic photos, I then compiled it on essentially 2 layers. That's the simple way of understanding it. One layer was everything, but then on top, the layer in front, I just used a mask to show those areas that we wanted to show from that layer, and the other areas that we wanted to show from another one. And in doing that, it saved you a couple of hours, I guess.
Yeah.
And with when you're doing stop motion, the more complicated you make it, the more chances that you're going to forget to move a character or make a mistake.
I mean, if you forget, just like if I'd forgotten to move the donkey in one frame and then I'd gone on from that, it would have created this really awkward pause. I think there actually was in the very next clip in the animation, I think there was a frame that I forgot to move the donkey properly, and so it jumps a bit. So there's a lot to think about, especially when there's so much movement, which does make it pretty tricky.
Jumping onto this photo, it's fascinating to see what you've done underneath the camera. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so I don't actually have a slider for my camera. In a lot of just general movie techniques and animation as well, you'll have a slider that you can move the camera along smoothly to create panning effect. But I don't have one, so I just built one myself out of Lego bricks, and basically stuck the camera to the slider and moved it along every single frame. As the minifigures were walking through this set. So I moved the minifigures and then moved the camera and then took the photo and then did it again. And I moved it, I had a little ruler on the side and I moved it exactly a millimeter every single frame.
Okay. Yeah, ingenious, making a slider. And we're going to see a slider later that's even more complicated than this one.
Yeah.
And then talk us through, so lighting is something that you had to think through quite a bit for quite a few of your shots. Go on, how did you do the lighting here?
So this one was one of the most complicated sets in terms of the lighting setup, because you have the campfire, which is just hidden behind the camera in that photo, but you can see it in the video. The campfire, and then there's the building in the background where Jesus is on trial. And obviously the building needs to be lit up, but I don't want like a spotlight on the whole building. I want the light to come out of the windows and doors. So I had the little light that you can see on the top there, coming down from the top, so it looked like it was coming out the windows and doors. And then for the campfire, you can see I've built a little Lego rig to put a torch on that then points directly at the campfire. And then there's also little Lego LED lights that you can get in like motor powered up function things sets. And those were put underneath the campfire to just illuminate the flame pieces. But in this set, even that wasn't enough to make the glow quite as strong as I'd like for the campfire, because the Lego ones aren't very strong. So you added a glow in After Effects just to help strengthen.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, not actually After Effects. We used a program called DaVinci Resolve,
right? Yes.
Which if anybody is or wanting to get into video editing or even making these stop motion animations like Joshua, DaVinci Resolve, I highly recommend it because it's free. It's
Is it free?
Yeah, it's
Oh, wow.
a professional standard piece of software, and it is free. It's unbelievable. So yeah, the whole of this program was edited in DaVinci Resolve.
Wow.
This is kind of a bird's eye view down of
Yeah,
the Jerusalem street.
camera's a bit-
What makes me laugh is that sign there that says "Do not move."
Oh, yes, yeah, that was I can't remember which scene that was for, but I basically hadn't finished it
Okay.
during the night, and this is in my bedroom.
Yes.
So I have my brothers coming in here all the time, and so I didn't manage to finish the scene at night. It was probably midnight, and I couldn't do another frame, so I switched off the camera and put that there just to make sure that, and also for me to make sure that I didn't accidentally like take the camera off or whatever.
Yeah,
so-
no, totally.
And then it's just laying on the desk ever since.
Now, I think this is from the rooster scene or the cockerel scene.
That's right.
Okay.
actually
So
see it.
you did something clever here with sort of creating a sunrise, because somebody said to me, "Oh, how do you do the sunrise? Was that in in the computer afterwards post production?"
No. So that was all it on set in the camera. So all real life effects, and basically, I just put orange card behind the scene, and then put a lamp behind the orange card, and then it's like a gooseneck lamp, so it's got you can move it around up and down, and I moved the lamp each frame. It was a bit fast, admittedly. The sun went up quite fast,
Yes,
but I moved the lamp. I moved the lamp each frame just to create that sunrise effect. And
Yes.
to be fair, the clip isn't very long, so the sun needs to move fast if you're going to be able to actually see it.
Yeah, if you're going to show that the sun is rising. Yeah, amazing. And then this is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite too.
I like the trees. I mean, they're cool. I like those. I like the big columns. Also, what you can't really see from this angle is the statues, which I think is genius. When you're watching the actual mini movie, you see the statues that are also the same color as the columns. Yes.
Yeah, the columns actually were probably the longest part in terms of time for this particular scene, and especially that whole building. I started with that building and then worked out from there, basically adding extra buildings just to fill out the scene. And I was basically out of grey and white bricks and tan plates by the end of the scene. So even with 60,000 bricks, you still run out very easily.
Yeah. And did you search sort of Roman villas and things like that to give you ideas?
So I looked for a lot of these scenes. I look up inspiration on the internet, and I'll search concept art really from that era, and use that as inspiration for my sets. So they're not, most of them actually, a lot of the inspiration for this one, particularly the Roman style architecture, came from my Bible, which has a photo next to the passage about this scene of a model of the Herodian Palace, I think it's called.
Yes.
So that's where a lot of the inspiration of the grand Roman architecture came for this scene.
That's great. And you were just talking about your other sets and things that you've done in the past. If people want to, they can find you on Instagram and on YouTube.
Yeah, Lego Monkey and Lego Monkey.
I'll put the details in the description so that people can find those links.
Cool.
This is another slider. Talk us through what's going on here.
Yeah, so this one I was very ambitious, and I wanted a pan around the mountain that the crosses were on, Golgotha, and so I built a curved slider. I was actually inspired by Brick Bending, who builds amazing models that seem to defy Lego by bending them, because there's a slight gap between each plate, which when you put a lot of them together, that's how you're able to create that bending effect.
Yes.
So again, the slider is built out of Lego, and like with the previous one, I'd move the figures, then move the camera, and then take a photo. And this one,
I wouldn't be surprised if you're sat on a big full-size chair that you've made out of Lego.
I'm actually not. But yeah, yeah. And for this one, the sliding didn't go quite so well as I'd hoped. It was a bit more wobbly. So because I don't have the extra track on the other side to keep the runner in place, to keep the camera in place. But I think your editing helped a lot with that, because you have a program that helped smooth that out a bit.
That's right. We used a program called Dain, Dain, D-A-I-N, and essentially it takes your sort of 12 frames a second, and I think that's the right word, interpolates what the frame should be in between that 12 frames. So you can turn something that's 12 frames into something that's 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second, and it just gives a smoother look to it.
What? And also for this scene, this was one of the most complicated scenes, I think, for both of us, because the whole thing was shot on a blue screen, and so not in this one, the mountains didn't have to be edited in, because I had to build them in for the panning effect. But in the rest of the scenes, the mountains were edited in by Dan, and particularly when it goes dark, that was quite complicated for you.
I find it very hard, and still wasn't 100% happy with it. I found it very hard getting rid of the blue edge, and I was finding that the despill. Yeah, exactly. I was finding that the despill and various other sort of chrome key effects that I had available in DaVinci Resolve either overdid it and chopped too much off, or left a thin line of blue.
It's the problem where the set starts to get blurred, and then part of the set is like tinged with blue as the blue screen blurs with the set.
Yes.
So I think in future, I'd shoot it in full resolution where it's not blurring, with a wider focus depth, and then you can add blurred bits in the background.
And just interesting about the camera, at the moment you've not got anything attached to that camera, but did you have a clicker?
Yes, so I had a clicker. I don't know why it's not attached in that.
Sure.
Probably, I do know, because I'd taken the camera. This is after the scene has been finished, and I took the camera off, and then I thought, let me just put that back to take a behind the scenes photo.
Sure.
So I'd already got the photos. So yeah, for the whole animation, I use a clicker that's attached to the camera, just so I don't touch the camera every time I take a photo, because that just helps reduce the risk of wobble.
And I'm curious, there's a toothbrush there. Is that used, or is that just your toothbrush?
Yeah, it's my toothbrush, obviously. No. I was intending to use it to brush off dust off the characters, but I never actually got around to it, because it would have just been too much effort. It's so dusty in South Africa, and you'll notice in the sets that they are quite dusty. I think it was particularly bad in the close-up of the crowd in the crucifixion scene. If you look on the figures there, the dust on them is quite bad. I wish I had rubbed it off. So that's what it was for, but I never got around to using it.
If anybody ever complains about it, just say, well, of course it is set in the Middle East, and
exactly.
it's dusty.
Exactly. Yeah, it was entirely intentional.
And then this is our last photo that we've got. This one, I wondered when I saw the video, I thought, how did you do that? How did you do the effect when the angel appears and there's a bright shining light? Talk us through this.
So this effect could easily have been done in DaVinci Resolve. But I just thought it's much nicer if the special effects like this are in camera, because it makes them look that bit more authentic and realistic. So when I got to the scene with the angel, I was thinking, I want the angel to be glowing, just because often angels are depicted as glowing. Whether they actually did or not, nobody knows. But so what I did was I made a little slit out of Lego bricks to shine my lamp through, so that it was just on the angel and not on the rest of the rock work and everything behind it. And also I used larger plates to stop the light shining on the woman, which you can just see behind the camera. And then for the flashing effect, I turned up the brightness of the lamp and the exposure of the camera each frame, and then put the angel in when it got to its brightest, and then turned it down again, but still, once it was fully down, still kept a slight glow on the angel, just to give that glowing effect while the angel's talking.
Wow, it's fascinating to hear how it came together and to see those behind the scene photos. And if you're watching this and you've not seen the video, then stop, go and watch the video. Take a break, have a cup of tea, and watch Joshua's amazing Easter animation. And if you want to use it in your church,
watch it 10 times while you're having your tea. It's only 4 minutes.
Yeah, you could do. And and if you want to use it in your church, you can download it from gochattervideos.com. Just before we finish, talk us through why you wanted to do a project like this. Why did you want to present, for example, the Easter story, as opposed to another story that you could do, or anything else?
So I've wanted to do something like this for a very long time. I have another channel on YouTube where I've uploaded about 6 short stop motions. They're nothing like this one. I made them about a year or 2 ago, of parables. And because I'm a Christian and because I love Lego, it's just a way that I can combine both of those passions and share the good news with the world around me, with doing what I love, basically. So it's an amazing way to combine those. But a project like this is absolutely huge, and I've never had the motivation to do the whole Easter story in an animation. So when Go Chatter reached out to me, it was an amazing opportunity, which I'm very grateful for, to be able to actually do this and have the motivation to do this.
Well, it really is a big piece of work. I remember chatting to you back in January and saying, oh, maybe we should sort of scale this back, and maybe we should just have, one photo, and we're just sort of
per scene,
zoom in, and and that would have been fine. It would have been still very impressive.
It would have been a nice video, but I wouldn't have been able to be pleased with it in quite the same way. Yeah,
basically Joshua said, no, we can do this, and you did.
I did not like the idea of just doing photos. When I do a project, I want it to be the best I can do.
Well, this is a real achievement, and it's lovely to see behind the scenes. So and thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for joining, and everybody that's sort of liked and commented, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the support.
Huge support. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Bye, everybody.